Today's message is really blunt. It's really savage. It might feel harsh, but I'm being shown that this is the only way to penetrate your self-protection on this particular subject. The person I'm speaking to either has really big goals, feels like they're running out of time, and is steamrolling towards something that they want to achieve, or you have a very specific vision of the life you want to live. What I'm hearing is that pleasure is the glue that will prevent your empire from crumbling. And the reason why this message is going to be blunt and direct in its energy is that I can feel how much it's not going to get through to you. I can feel the receiver on the other end of this transmission refusing to hear it. So before I speak any further, breathe in deep, especially into your solar plexus. Tell your ears to soften and let yourself really, really hear this. You are not going to get where you want and need to get in life if you don't allow yourself to experience pleasure, fun, and luxury. These are experiences that you've been depriving yourself of because they don't seem related or necessary to your goal. But they are imperative because they are a frequential doorway. The things that you want to experience ultimately, of course, include these three things: pleasure, luxury, and fun. And we think of these as rewards that we get at the end of hard work. But they are energies, they're frequencies, they're states of being, and modes of receiving. And at this time, your nervous system has not been primed to understand the feeling of these things in order to call them in to your future. While it is true that if you have a strong belief that hard work equals reward, you can get to your goal without treating yourself along the way. But once you get there, you're not going to know how to experience the pleasure and the joy. It's going to strike your system as danger or boredom. And that's because that's exactly how it's hitting your system now. What I'm seeing is that the experience of enjoying something is foreign to your nervous system. You've either never freely been able to experience fun and pleasure in your life, or you're in a phase where you're in survival mode and you have been for such a long time that your walls have come up and enjoyable experiences have not been on your radar. They're very much in the periphery. I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm talking about and explain how this frequentially functions as the glue to your empire, and why if you ignore a message like this, you may potentially lose years and years of your time wasted working and toiling towards something that could have been achieved so much more easily and enjoyably. So, examples of joy and pleasure include getting a massage, getting your nails done, spending more than you usually would on a meal, letting yourself eat something that isn't supposed to be healthy without having intrusive thoughts about how you shouldn't be doing this. And that includes paranoid thoughts about the ingredients in food, like worrying about seed oils, worrying about fats, counting calories, letting go of that behavior. This even includes drinking alcohol. I know that's not very spiritual of me to say, but letting yourself indulge in a glass of wine or a beer without the relentless thoughts of self-punishment and vigilance and trying to correct it the next day by subconsciously punishing yourself. This is the behavior I'm talking about. Buying yourself an expensive item of clothing, wearing luxury fitness wear to the gym, joining a gym where the membership is more costly. All of these are examples of engaging with the frequency of luxury and pleasure. And it's about the way that you think while you're doing these things. Maybe you are good at treating yourself. Maybe you already understand that there is something to letting yourself engage in these luxury experiences so that you can pick up on the frequency of the environment and become accustomed to these spaces, because you know it's something you want in your future. Maybe you do already treat yourself. And if you do, then it's about the mental layer of how you are beating yourself up at the same time on some level. The other version of an example of this is any activity that is tied to your passion or your talent that makes you feel like it's a waste of time, like it's boring, or like it's useless, and that you don't think it's getting you towards your goal. It might be something that you had planned for the future. For instance, when I make enough money, I'm going to let myself write. Or when I make enough money, I'm going to set up a little music studio in my house and start playing around with recording. You need to understand that those kinds of activities are the things that will build your frequency and your magnetism, and they will change the energetics of your system to allow you to call in the resources and the feelings that you need to actually get to the goal that seems unrelated. Because ultimately, those are the things that you want to do. So you need to practice doing them. For example, if you are a writer and you don't let yourself write because firstly, you feel you need to make money, you need to set up your business first before you can find the relaxation to write, before you'll feel relaxed enough to know what you're going to write about, before you'll feel ready. All those kinds of ideas. They make sense, they're logical, but they are also excuses that are helping you to avoid all of the feelings and the thoughts that are going to come up when you actually start engaging in that one thing. So if you were to sit down right now, you have the time to listen to this, so you have the time to sit down and do 5 minutes of writing. If you were to start right now, start writing that thing that you want to be written in the far future, and just notice what happens in your body. You'll start getting fidgety. You'll start thinking, this is stupid, this is pointless, this is a waste of time. Or you might think, I'm not allowed to do this. This relates to fun. And so if it's not connecting me to the immediate goals that I have in my head, then I'm wasting my time. But look at all the other ways in your life that you waste time. Alex Hormozy, the entrepreneur, is coming to mind. And he says, all of those preparatory things that you do before you get into doing the work are all the things that you don't need to do. You could literally just wake up and do the work you need to do. And you say you're working, but you're also dabbling in all sorts of other things at the same time that aren't getting you towards that one thing that you need to do. And I know that sounds antithetical or hypocritical because I'm telling you to have fun, but it's also monitoring where your mind is at, how much time of the day is spent on each thing, and understanding that you're pouring the potency of your intention into each moment and action. So if you're half doing something, if you're flicking between tabs, you're watching YouTube videos, you're listening to readings, and you're doing some kind of work, or a massive, massive red flag is admin, unnecessary admin. For instance, working through your calendars, editing and cleaning up some old website, sorting through old diary entries, listening to old voice notes, arranging and rearranging things to get yourself in the mindset or to get yourself ready to do the thing. This is a big indicator that you're in an avoidance energy. Because there's one thing that you should be doing or that you know you want to do and you need to do, and it's the thing that you're avoiding. So be honest with yourself about these big goals you have. Have you put them out of order? Have you said that one day, once you develop this amount of persona or following, you're then going to start doing the real thing that you really wanted to do. Maybe you have this long adult's book that you want to write, but instead you're writing a kid's book because you're thinking, oh, the kid's book will be what makes me the money to write the adult book. But the adult book is your legacy piece. You could write the children's book, but the universe is then going to continue to give you conditions where you have to keep writing children's books. You become a slave to the matrix of the thing you're doing right now, which is why it is so important to include luxury and pleasure. Because if that's what you want in the future, you need to become accustomed to it, comfortable with it, familiar with the frequency in your body as a safe thing now. And this includes in your spiritual practice. You'd be a person who sits down to meditate, to work on something, to clear some trauma, to become a better person, and you're widely focused on the negative aspects and healing the negative and clearing blocks and dark energies and things that feel to be stopping you. That feels to have become a familiar practice that is almost more comfortable for you. It's more comfortable to be warring against darkness and to be clearing bad things than to actually sit there and imagine yourself receiving pleasure or money. Try that as a meditative exercise. Sit there and imagine yourself receiving a bunch of money. Notice what your system does. You will likely tense up, brace for disappointment. You will feel a literal physical block coming in. It's the block that I could feel before I started speaking this message, because I can feel the person on the other side blocking their ears and their solar plexus to letting this information in, because you're so wired towards hypervigilance, which I've talked about in a lot of other readings. You want to turn that hypervigilance master that you're almost worshipping in your nervous system into a guard that stands 2 meters behind you. You want to notice when you're habitually following anxious signals or vigilant signals that usually come from behind you on your spine or in your solar plexus, and that they're almost like hunger pains that you need to feed. And then you only allow yourself to feel a type of pleasure when you've completed those anxious tasks. So like the vigilance master in your body is telling you that you can't relax until you do X, Y, Z. And so you follow the anxiety and then you feel satisfied or relieved, but it's not pleasure. And pleasure is like the sword that will smash the vigilance shield in your body and kick it off its throne from this position that it has in your life, which is ruling you and ruling your nervous system. So are you starting to see how luxury and pleasure, they're like tools or medicine? And at this point in your journey, this is actually the harder thing for you to do, to feel luxury. And the easy thing for you now is to do hard work. But because of this discrepancy between the luxury and the hard work you're choosing is not actually the work you have to do. And that's all because of this automated nervous system discrepancy. So to sum it up, your guidance is to pour your focus very directly into your tasks, clear out anything that is akin to unnecessary admin. Then, during your meditative work and practice, make sure that you try focusing on fully experiencing pleasure before you practice clearing blocks, working on negative emotions and memories and trauma, and solely focus on the act of receiving and notice what comes up in your body. Then, make yourself do the thing that you think comes at the end of the big goal and just see what happens when you try it. And finally, forcibly integrate enjoyment, pleasure, fun, luxury every single day into your routine as a non-negotiable, and make sure that when you do it, you're aware of the hypervigilant thoughts, the paranoid thoughts, and the self-punishment that comes up when you do it. Because this is also work. Doing the pleasurable stuff the right way is also work, and that it will help you to see it that way until you can finally let go and admit to yourself that you're so worth it, that you deserve this luxury, that it is incredibly unfair that you have gone without it for so long, because you do deserve it. And there may even be some grief you're avoiding in finally letting yourself feel these beautiful joys that you do love yourself enough to know you deserve, but you've been putting off. So that is a very extreme, savage energy message. I feel like the way I had to speak it across to you, there's something about the energy behind it that gets through to you that is familiar. Maybe you're used to being told off or something. So I hope that that makes sense and it doesn't hurt any more than it needs to. But I hope you can also feel the wholeness of the intention here and the importance of this in getting you to your ultimate desires. So thank you. If you made it all the way to the end of this reading, you're exactly the person who's meant to be here, because you're brave. And this is a channel for brave people who are ready to really hear the truth and not to be lied to by your tarot readers. Because it does feel good, and sometimes I even need sometimes some hope core. I will click on that video that tells me in the next 8 hours I'm going to be a millionaire, because it's good for me. It feels good, but it's not good for me. It's not good for you either. It's not good for us. This is what's good for you. But you shouldn't have to receive your messages in this stubborn, savage, hostile way that I have presented it today. But I think that too kind of tells you where you're at with this self-punishment thing, because if you attracted this frequency, which is mine today, telling you off, then that in some way you felt that you deserved that or you needed that. But at the same time, I know that you love yourself, because there is love underlying the current of this message. So props to you for trusting and listening and making it all the way to the end of this transmission. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment.